Again, for those of you who are just joining, want to wish you a good afternoon. My name is McKenzie. I'm an education consultant with RTI International with the Center for, with Education and Workforce Development. And my colleague presenting with me today is Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Knapp, also with RTI International.
All right, great. So we'll go ahead and get started. Before we want to quickly just review some norms that we'd love for you to consider. So during our time together today, because we're only together for an hour, we ask that you be present. So at any time that you can, please minimize any distractions. Also, we ask that you be actively engaged. So we really want to hear from you, whether that's audibly or through the chat. So please participate in that vein. Also, we want to ensure that we are being supportive of one another. So again, want to create that atmosphere of a productive collaborative environment. And then we want to ensure that we're sharing airtime. So we want to ensure equity of voice. And then lastly, we ask that you have grace in this, in this new world of technology. Things can happen. So we ask that you extend grace at any point that may happen. And then lastly, we will ensure that we will begin on time as well as end on time. So with that said, we'll just do a quick overview of our outcomes for today. So it is our intent to ensure that you actually have an opportunity to acquire an understanding of how social-emotional learning and competency-based education can promote equity. In addition to that, we want to make some connections between implementing social-emotional learning and competency-based education and positive student outcomes. And then lastly, before you leave today, you should at least have 3 implications of your work in your respective schools or districts to advance equitable practices. All right. So with that said, I will turn it over now to my colleague, Laura.
Thanks, Steve. Just wanted to start with a quote from an article that I read recently. It said, educational equity means that every student has access to the resources and educational rigor they need at the right moment in their education, regardless of race, gender, ethnicity, language, disability, family background, or family income. And while this was published as a definition of educational equity, it's also really almost a definition of competency-based education, because when we do it correctly, we're meeting students where they are and giving them the support that they need to learn and to achieve. So just wanted to start kind of with that definition and that connection in our minds. Go to the next slide. So when Dee and I introduced ourselves, we introduced ourselves as working with the Research Triangle Institute here in North Carolina. But we're here also today representing the Regional Education Laboratory Southeast. And in our work with the Regional Education Laboratory, we began a research alliance in 2017. And this research alliance was formed to develop and share best practices in competency-based education. Our alliance includes members from the K-12 space as well as higher education. And we work closely with our State Department of Education here in North Carolina, as well as schools and districts across the state. You go to the next slide. We've worked with schools who are already implementing competency-based education, but we also work with schools who would like to begin implementation. And routinely we hear, what does it look like? What does CBE look like once we have implemented? So we developed what we call our mastery framework, where we tried to think very carefully about what are all the tenets that need to be in place for CBE to be fully implemented. So we came up with 4 dimensions that we are, as you see on the screen: structure, culture, teaching, and learning. When we think about the structure that needs to be in place, we need to think about these different elements, but probably first and foremost is an assessment system that allows for moving through the curriculum by demonstrating mastery rather than assigning grades. And that learning management system, that data system, professional development for teachers, flexible scheduling is all part of that structure component. Culture is really mindset. And it's the mindset not only of teachers and students, but also school and district leaders, parents and families, the community at large, the Board of Education. All of these different factors need to have that mindset of what does it mean to master competencies rather than earn grades. And then, of course, at the heart of it is teaching and learning. Are your teachers personalizing learning for each student? Do they understand their content to the extent that they can recognize when a student masters? The facilitators and coaches rather than your traditional lecturers and multiple choice tests. And then finally, that learner, the student who has a voice, who owns their own learning. I was so impressed with the students at the panel this morning, and they very clearly felt an ownership of their own educational process, and that was lovely to hear. And part of when we think about student ownership, it's easy to see the importance of social emotional learning, as if we'll go to the next slide, Dee, as illustrated in Castle's framework. So to be able to have an awareness of themselves as a student, as a learner, to manage their time, to make responsible decisions as they're deciding what are their next learning targets and how to move through the curriculum. It's easily to see the importance of this. So I think the next thing we're going to do in the session is to think about how the connection between the mastery framework and social emotional learning. I love this picture because it seems to be very good illustration of life in this pandemic, where teachers are overwhelmed and students are overwhelmed, but there's a path through, and there is a way to bring order to this chaos. So Dee, I'll turn things back to you.
Laura, and to that point, you know, with teachers, administrators feeling overwhelmed, it is imperative as leadership that we streamline the work. So we don't want them to feel like we're just adding something else on top of their plate. So in any way that we can streamline the work, the better, the more receptive teachers may be to what we're trying to present to them. So with that said, we're going to take a moment to look at where these competencies from CBE as well as SEL, where they overlap, where is there some alignment? And we also want to look at what are the commonalities or the connections in regards to these particular competencies. So with that said, we're going to take some time to break out into groups of, I think we'll do groups of 5, just looking at our numbers. Yeah, so we'll do groups of 5. And in your groups, you're going to find, I'm going to place in the chat box right now. Oops, picked the wrong thing. Well, no, that's fine. So I've placed in the chat box a link to a Jamboard. And in that Jamboard, whatever your group number is, that is the frame that you will work on. Okay, so I just want to kind of walk you through this. What you're going to do is you're going to click on the desired sticky. So that's the CBE sticky. As a matter of fact, let me stop sharing right now and let me pull up that so that you can see it, and I'll walk you through. Okay, apologies. Here. This is that time where we're extending grace. All right. So I'm going to share my side so you can see it. Okay, so now you should actually see the Jamboard. So, so I'm going to walk you through this. What I would like for you to do, as you notice right here to your left, you actually have the list of the competencies. So what you can do, when you click on the sticky, you'll see these 3 dots here. When you click on those, they will actually tell you to duplicate, all right? So you'll duplicate, and then you can move it to the competency in regards to CASEL that you think that falls. And then you'll go on and choose another one and do so. So that's the way that works. Let me go ahead and delete this. All right. So again, you're looking for the connections, the alignment. Looks like some people are already working. All right, so now before you start working, I need to assign you to your rooms. Okay, so again, you're gonna look at the frames right up here. You'll notice that there are several frames. Okay, so everyone will have a frame that they will work with. I'm gonna make a copy of another one because we have so many people. I'm gonna duplicate this, so that will create 5, and I'll do a 6th one, just so we have enough. All right, so I'm going to assign you right now to your groups. And again, whatever your group number is, that is the frame that you will operate on, okay? Are there any questions before I send you to your groups? If there are no questions, all right, we're going to send you to your groups right now. Enjoy. Oh, there we go. All right, welcome back, Laura. All right, so Stacy, Stacy, are you there? Stacy Whittington? Did you get, you should have got a request to enter into room 5. Jonathan, are you there? Maybe I can assist you, sir. All right, you good? All right, great, awesome. Okay, looks like everybody's in the room now. Ooh. Okay, and it looks like I'm looking. Looks like people are actually, okay, great. All right, Hippo is in 3, good. Okay. All right, great. And I always did this. I forget to tell people how long they have. So I'm going to just send them a message. Yes, that's possible. Hi, Deb. Everyone is in breakout rooms right now. So what I'll do is I'll just send you to one of the rooms. just actually let me place the link again back in the chat. That way you'll have access to the board. Okay, so Deb, you have the link to the Jamboard that everyone is working on. When you go into the Jamboard, as I've shared with everyone, what you will do is you'll click on the sticky. And then at the top right of the sticky, you'll see 3 dots. When you click on that, it will give you an option to duplicate, and you can assist your colleagues in aligning these particular competencies for CBE, competency-based education, with the competencies of social emotional learning. Deb, do you have any questions before I send you to your room? You're on mute. Hi, Deb, are you there? Okay. What?
In the chat.
All right. I will go ahead. Let's see, I think Julie. I think that's where Julie was. I'm not sure. Hi, Holly. Holly, are you there? Can you hear me?
Deb in a breakout room?
No. Yes, Deb should be in room 2. Deb at the bottom of your, okay, all right. See people working. All right, I see people who are in room 2 coming back. So Jonathan, can you hear me, Jonathan? Holly or Cindy, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hi, Cindy. So I saw where you were in breakout room 2. Did you get kicked out?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So at the bottom of your screen, you should actually see the icon that says breakout room. You click on that, it should give you the option to go back into to that room.
Okay, perfect. Let's try it again.
Sure, not a problem at all. And I'll try to get
Thanks.
Julie and Deb in there with you as well.
Okay.
All right, not a problem. Hi, Deb, are you there? Hi, let's see, I see that Julie and, hey, Holly, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry I'm late to the conversation.
Not a problem at all, not a problem at all. So I am going to, actually, so we have actually about 4 minutes remaining. So if you can see on the screen that there are Jamboards that teams are working in. And so what they're doing is they're basically aligning the competencies for competency-based education with those that pertain to social emotional learning. So so the way that you do that is basically you just click on the sticker. I'm not sure how familiar you are with Jamboard, but you click on the sticker, you'll see the 3 dots at the top right. When you click on that, it will give you the option to either duplicate And so you'll click duplicate, and then you can move that sticky to whatever competency you think it belongs. But I'm sure your group mates can fill you in as far as any other questions that you may have in regards to that.
Oh, so you're in breakout groups?
Yes, ma'am, they are in breakout groups.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, I didn't think I was that late to the conversation. I was actually meeting with our statewide equity directors.
Okay, nice.
So
What state?
I'm in Utah,
Okay,
and
Utah.
every couple of months we meet as equity. I'm the state equity specialist, so I just gather them together and they share ideas, and it's really a great conversation. So
Awesome. Well, you know what, Holly, I'm looking at the time. They probably got two minutes remaining. If you want to just hang out here with us, you can.
yeah,
And
I think so.
all right. Awesome.
Tell me where you're from, because I missed your introduction.
Yes. So my name is McKenzie, and I'm an education consultant with RTI International, where the headquarters is based in Raleigh, Durham, North Carolina. So our Research Triangle Park area in between the two cities of Raleigh and Durham. And my colleague who's co-presenting with me is Laura Knapp.
Hi, Holly.
Hi.
Yes. So yeah, we kind of got started, did the introduction, and moved people quickly into breakout rooms. We believe
good.
we believe in getting people actively engaged.
No, I like that. I like it when there's more engagement, especially it's harder to do when you have a national conference like this.
Yes. Yeah.
It was fun last year to go in person. It's a great professional development. I like Aurora Institute.
Mm-hmm.
Same here.
All right. Well, I'm going to send the 1 minute warning. Actually, Natalie, is there an automatic 1 minute warning whenever you close the rooms, or does it close immediately?
There is a 1 minute warning built in.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and close the rooms and allow people to see that 1 minute warning. Looks like we have some people who finished early, and so they've come back to the main room. Welcome back, everyone.
Thanks. We aced it, we think.
All right. I love the confidence. Love it. Great. So I'll stop sharing this particular screen. And well, no, that's fine. I'll leave it up. That way everyone can see. Okay, so probably 10 seconds, everyone will rejoin, and then we'll give an opportunity for people to share out. Okay, welcome back, everyone. So I want to give an opportunity for you to, let's just debrief this activity and talk about what you may have found challenging, or what were some things that you noticed. So at your exposure, you actually have all of the frames that you can take a look at. And so I'm gonna give you a few minutes to kind of do a virtual gallery walk. That way you can go to other individuals' frames to see how they align the different the competencies with each other. And so we'll take about 2 minutes. Let's do 2 minutes. Let's take about 2 minutes to do that. And when you come back, we'll talk about what were some things that you found challenging, what were some things that you noticed. Okay, take about another minute. Okay. All right, so let's hear from you. What did you notice and what did you find challenging? You can feel free to place your thoughts in the chat box or you can speak audibly. So if anyone wants to share audibly, you're welcome to do so. So again, looking at these two questions, what did you notice? What did you find challenging?
I'll jump in here. You said we can unmute and talk, right?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you, Tom, appreciate it.
One thing that I thought was a little challenging or interesting, maybe it was just is at least in our work, is there seemed to be, in our conversations, there seemed to be less that fit into the relationship spot or the social awareness. Those seems to be the ones where there was the least numbers of links or connections, which very much surprises me with social emotional learning. So that was just, but that I noticed some other groups actually had it a little different.
Okay. Would anyone like to respond to thank you, Tom, appreciate you sharing that. Anyone like to respond to what Tom just stated? Actually, thank you, Latranicia. Oh, I know I messed that up. I apologize, Miss Wilson. But she agrees with you, Tom. And let's see, Alfonso said he felt like you could actually connect all of the social emotional learning comps to each other, to each other. A lot of crossover, not enough time to get through it all. Yeah, my apologies, Dale. We've got this frame of 1 hour, but you can always go back. You have access to the link. Courtney states that a lot of possible overlap. I felt many of them could be in each of them. Again, wanted to give that opportunity. Would anyone like to share their thoughts in regards to what Tom stated in regard that the fact that it was a struggle to actually find the alignment to relationships or social awareness?
This is Ruth Ellis.
Yes, hi, Ruth.
Hi, and thanks, Tom, for starting the conversation off. The thing that our group looked at was trying to tease out, is this a social emotional competency that teachers need, students need, or both? So it was definitely kind of like, once we started to sort of tease out that, and the time, we were mindful of time. Thanks for the shout out, Rolando. So, you know, once we tried to tease that out, we actually got going, but we were still having this like kind of conversation about, well, it kind of goes here too. So we were trying to draw dotted lines, but we couldn't.
Definitely. So I like your point there, Ruth, in regards to, so who is the actual audience? Who are we looking at? Are we looking at the students? Are we looking at teachers? Or, you know, are we looking at administrators, you know, people, individuals in leadership? So so that's a very good point, and I'm going to make a note of that the next time I do this activity. Get some perspective.
Also, it's useful to recognize that both the teacher and the student and the administrators, to make it really work well, can look at that lens. Just something that our group, I'm not taking credit for that. That was our group.
Great point. Great point. Any other thoughts? Let's see. See in the chat box that made several duplicates of nearly every sticky note. That's good.
I would just add one other thought is you mentioned the learner and also the teacher. And I think recognizing and emphasizing also the leader or the parent or others. I mean, right now there's a significant sense of, I'm a systems leader, and so a superintendent of a school district. And so believe me, there is significant trauma being experienced by leaders throughout the entire system. And there is a real, like we've never seen before, in my opinion. And so anyway, I just want to recognize it actually depends on who we're talking about is really critical in this.
Exactly. Great point. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate you sharing that. Any other thoughts before we transition?
One last thing, Day, is like I'm wondering if we can flip the exercise and align the SEL competencies to those CBE components, right? Like I feel like that I would have an easier time doing that if it's flipped.
Great point. Great point, Rolando. All right. So you know, and actually, Rolando, that was one of the questions I was going to ask. How do you think you might be able to use this particular activity in your district, or in your, if there are any teachers on the call, how you might be able to use it in your classroom? Any thoughts there?
Yeah, so like I'm looking specifically at student voice because like some of my work is directly tied to student voice, right? And I'm wondering, you know, what type of SEL competencies should you tap into or develop and encourage if you're trying to promote student voice? And Ruth and Scott and I had this conversation in our breakout, you know, like you need a sense of self-awareness, right? To be able to lift your voice up, but at the same time, social awareness to determine the positionality of where you are. Are you a student talking to policymakers or to administrators? So, and then the relationship thing happens there too, right? And a big part of that is like the decision making of what to highlight when I am given the place for my voice. And then finally, the self-management to compose myself well enough to be able to deliver my message in the best way that it could be heard. So.
Exactly. Awesome points. Okay, so I do want to be mindful of our time. And so, you know, anytime that we come up with ideas, we come up with thoughts, they just can't sit there. They can't stay on the paper. So we've got to do something with it. So, and oftentimes what I've found in working with districts and schools is that sometimes the struggle is in the implementation. The struggle is getting buy-in to the vision. The struggle is establishing that common language. So we're going to take a moment to just look at a process of how we might actually begin to take the work, or the implications of our work, and implement that in our districts and in our schools. So I want you to take a moment to just think about this question. What are the implications of our work? Looking at these two frameworks and looking at the alignment of the frameworks, what are the implications of our work moving forward? And you can, if you're the type of person that likes to write, so you can just use some old technology, a pen and pencil, write it down. But let's take a moment to capture what are the implications of our work moving forward. So I'll give you a moment to reflect. All right. Rolando, that is a great probing question there, sir, that you placed in the chat. You got me thinking. So let's take a moment. Let's hear and see your thoughts. So what do you think are implications of our work moving forward? Feel free to place in the chat, or you can share audibly.
Well, I'm just thinking that we can't continue to address them as two separate things. They've got to be the same thing, and we've got to make sure as we're designing that this is all part of that whole child, that whole, not even just the child, that whole teacher, that whole administrator. They can't be two separate things.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree, Tracy. Great. Thomas shared that more important than ever before, needed for people everywhere in any field of study or age, how to elevate SEL in a virtual setting. Oh, yes, definitely. Other thoughts?
This is Ruth again. To what Tracy said, we talk about, and also to what Tom said about SEL with the competency-based education, it's almost like in the old school thought of education, it's like siloed, like one and the other. And it's like the intentionality of that intersection. Like you can't think about one without the other, which then would hopefully inform the equity and the diversity, because you can't think about SEL as like, well, it works for everybody, because that's not what it's based on, nor is, CBE. So it's like that intention of it, like starting every thought process of the work that is done with teachers, students, administrators, with the intention of the intersection of the two.
Exactly, absolutely.
I would just comment on that, Ruth, as well. I just think that that's a powerful thought, that it's not, that it's actually should naturally be intersected together, not one without the other. And when I think of competencies, I think of competencies for little people and for big people and for every position, for every different roles that we play in our life, actually, in our personal life, but the broader context of competencies. And what we've discovered is competencies don't matter if you actually don't have things such as relationships, self-management, social awareness. If you don't have these other aspects of it, then the competencies really don't matter anyway.
So there's some great questions, again, probing questions that are coming in the chat. Rolando states that do the identified SEL competencies work for all students, including students with learning differences? Alfonso commented that, can you have one without the other? I don't think so. Ruth, thank you again for sharing. You were responding to Rolando's statement. Awesome. Great. So let's take a moment now to begin to think about the planning, strategically planning to basically develop buy-in or create buy-in when you return to your district, when you return to your schools. And so, we wanted to model that process and what it looks like. So we have this storyboard tool that we will actually share with you. So the first step is to, what is your objective? What is it that you wish to accomplish? Establishing that, and then identifying who is our target audience. So kind of to the conversation that we had earlier when you were looking at the different perspectives. Who is it that we're talking about? Are we talking about teachers? Are we talking about administrators, students, parents, and so forth? And then once you identify that target audience, now let's see, what is the call to action and what do we want our target audience to do? And so in order to do that, we need to have a better understanding of who the audience is. So there are several questions that we tend to want to pose. So the first one being, what does our audience value? What matters to them? What or who influences our audience? what stressors are faced by our audience, and then lastly, what motivates our audience? What gives them that drive, that that energy to want to go forward? Then in step 5, now we can actually develop a primary rationale. Sometimes that will get, and of course that will get back to the action that we will actually take with our audience. So once you've established that rationale, let's begin to pose some questions. Why does the rationale matter? And what could a different future look like? And how will those who are impacted benefit? And then lastly, how are we able to make this compelling? So typically, in order to make something compelling, you want to find a story that people can relate to. All right, and then again, you do the same process with rationale too. So now, well, let's just walk through this. I want to share a little bit about my story. So lately, I've truly been getting into thinking about wellness. So not just physically, but also mentally. And I want to actually share that with my family. So I wanted to ensure that not only am I the one that's living a long, healthy life, but I want to ensure that my loved ones live a long and healthy life. So here it is. This is my objective. So who is my audience? My audience in this particular case would be my family members. All right, so what is it now in regards to my family members? I want them to participate. What is it that I want them to do? So I want them to participate in a new healthy activities. So these are some things that I need to know about my family. Traveling, having fun together, they enjoy that. They also enjoy being with their friends, their colleagues, their research. What motivates them is competition, new adventures, and learning. And then we have the fact that money and being overscheduled are some things that might get in the way. So these might be some barriers that we need to overcome. So as a result of that, I formed this rationale that we can merge new adventures with healthy activities, and we can use tools we already have to make it a competition. So using that rationale, I'm now able to begin to take the next step. So as you can see here, I'm connecting the why. So I'm trying new things will keep us from getting bored. Desire for the future is we will spend more time together having fun and feeling great. And then a relatable story would be family exercise night. So, just having a conversation around what it is that I do with my internal family. Sharing those experiences is something that my external family might be able to relate to. And again, we just go through that process again for the second rationale. All right, so in your chat box, you will find the need to go back. Make sure I'm clicking the right thing. Okay, so in your chat box, you will find the following link. Now, what should happen is basically, I think it's like an Excel spreadsheet that allows you to go in and to begin to think about the process that you would take when you go back to your district or your school. Hopefully everyone is able to access that. Says we need access. So it didn't allow you to copy. Okay, try this again. Uh-oh. It's afraid that was going to happen. So is everybody needing access? Is it asking everybody for access? Yes, okay. Let's see. Okay. One moment. Let's stop sharing. Let's see if I can get that for you. Okay, so it should look like that, but evidently. Okay, give me one moment. Oh, that's, you know what? I wonder if I shared the wrong one. Let's try again. Yep, I think that's what happened. Got some technical difficulties here. All right, try this. See if that works for you. Copy that and place it in your box. See what happens. Did that work? No, still need access. Okay, all right. I think I know what I need to do now. Laura, this worked earlier for us. My apologies.
Can I just copy the link to what you sent me before?
Yeah, it may work, but what I'm doing, I'm going into an account and I think I'm just going to go through and grant everyone access. It looks like that's what I may have to end up doing. Oh, wow.
Are you going to give us access to your bank account? Is that what I heard you say?
No, not quite. Let's see. I'm going to try this one where I share it and anyone with the link actually has access. And now everything is moving slowly. Okay, and I do want to be mindful of our time. Right. Okay. My apologies. Now everything is just moving slowly on this end. And I am copying, changing the link so that everyone has access as an editor. Okay, and so I'm gonna copy this link and place it in the box. And let's see what happens now. Send to everyone. Okay, try that now. Oh, did it not? Oops. Okay. How about now? Does that work? Great. Okay. So what I'll ask is, just so that everybody has one by themselves, I'll ask that you actually make a copy of it. That way you have your own where you can work. Okay. And in addition to that, I'm going to provide you with a more simplified version of this tool. So let me go and share that as well. Yes, sir. All right, awesome. So it looks like people are having success. And so in addition to that particular tool, this is the simplified version. Basically, I'm kind of walking you through the same process, but just a more simplified version. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of minutes to look at that, and I will go back and kind of like share my example that I used as a model. Okay, so take about another minute to review those documents, and just want to, again, be mindful of the time. Sorry that you didn't have an opportunity to dive into that, but hopefully us going through that process and showing you the model is helpful as far as you moving forward using this particular tool. So with that said, just want to take a moment and get your thoughts about why do you think it's back up? Why do you think it's important that we do this? Why is it important to have buy-in to ensure that everyone is on the same page?
It's about the why, the right? So like, really asking ourselves, why are we doing something, especially within the education field? There's so many new gadgets coming in, new tools, and we have to really learn how to really dig deep within ourselves, our organizations, for like that why in our purpose.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Rolando. Appreciate you sharing that. And it looks like several individuals are appreciative of the tools. Any other thoughts? You, again, feel free to share audibly or in the chat box. Okay, well, I see several people acknowledging that they thought that the resources are very helpful and that they have appreciated the interactive session. So I think that's probably a perfect segue for us to move on to providing closure. So we're going to place this evaluation, we'll place the link for the evaluation in the chat box. Let me stop sharing and I'll go ahead and do it. Oh, thank you, appreciate that. Thank you, Natalie. So we would definitely appreciate your feedback. If you have any questions, you're welcome to contact Laura and myself. We'd be more than happy to sit down and have a conversation with you about the work that is happening in your district or in your school in regards to CBE and SEL. Laura, any closing words, thoughts?
Just thanks for being with us today, and thanks for your grace as we had some technical moments. But I hope you're enjoying the conference, and please do be in touch. We'd love to talk to you.
Awesome.